Hare Krishna, Rukmini.
Obeisances to you.
Morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning. Staying with friends in San Francisco?
I am, but I'm at something else today. So an event that I'm doing today here. So
You organized an event?
well, it's not so much organized an event, but yes, kind of.
What's the event about?
Oh, it's an Orisha thing. So that I'm doing for one of my godchildren. So
That's very nice.
So, and it starts at 10. So, and 10 is exactly when our meeting ends. So I started.
Oh my goodness. How many godchildren do you have?
Probably about, I don't know, 5, 10, maybe about 10.
Oh my goodness.
This one in particular has about 50 of her own.
She has 50. She has 50 of her.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the so dealing with her getting her set up so that she can be, so part of what I do is help her to be a better godparent. So.
That's beautiful. Are any of them interested in the path of bhakti at all?
It depends on how you mean that. What we certainly people listen to. If I'm here, often we're playing kirtan, and she loves to listen to kirtan, and that's great. And what I'm trying to do is sort of think about what bhakti in an Orisha practice looks like.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because you might be able to do some cultural blending. That would be really amazing.
And it's a tradition that lends itself to that a lot. And it actually, to be honest, it is because it is, again, a monotheistic practice that also has lesser entities that are
lesser beings, right?
Lesser beings are each given certain areas of responsibility because it's already set up that way. It really is about how do we make sure that there's a focus on God, who it has been thought of as more distant. How do I bring the concept of God closer? And how
so immanent, not only transcendent, but immanent, present in our lives.
Yes. As well as to think of service, because it's a practice of service. Like, so people are going to come here to help do this for this woman. So it's a practice of service and serving each other and serving the Orishas. And how do we think about service as being really what we're about, serving
beautiful
God. So those are the things that I've been sort of working through in sort of language and
well, it has so much to do with language, right? But you're the person to do that, because you know the culture from the inside.
Absolutely inside. How are you?
I think Prabhupada would love that. You know what I mean? If people could take his teachings and bring them into their own cultures with their own language and translate it so that people can connect. That's I can't imagine anything more beautiful.
So people don't think of themselves as having to take on something new.
Right. Well, Prabhupada would say, I think most devotees ignore it, but Prabhupada would say, I told them when I went to the West that I am not telling them to give up Christianity, to give up Islam, to give up, but just add Krishna.
Yeah. So that's the piece. I'm going to go get my headset. And you're ready for today, and we have not. So you and I need a date.
I would love that. I miss you.
I miss
sister.
you.
My goodness. I was just thinking yesterday about our walk that we had on the High Line and how lovely that was.
My God, how long ago was that?
It must have been years. And then I was thinking about when we were with Haripriya together.
Yes.
How beautiful.
Oh,
That was,
especially the wedding. That wedding trip was it'll be 3 years ago. It'll be 3
yeah, the wedding
years
that
ago.
went on and on and on and on.
Yes. Yes. And because of you, I got to experience things I just would not have ordinarily experienced. I wouldn't have been a part of that. So
No,
let
I
me go
was
get my
just a
headset.
little,
Let me see if I
okay,
can
I was
find.
a fly on the wall.
Well, I think I left it in my other bag in my other place. So it
Well,
is what that is.
I can hear you very clearly if that means anything.
Yes, I know you could hear me. There are going to be people sort of coming in soon, but I'll
Okay.
mute. I'll mute.
Okay, and will you announce the breakout questions so I don't have to
I will
look for it?
take care. I can take care
Okay.
of all of that. I can take care of
Okay, you look
all
so
of that.
gorgeous, by the way.
Oh,
The
thank you.
lipstick, the white top, the earrings, the hair. Really cool.
Thank you, Rukmini, dear. Thank you. People are, oops, I'm gonna sneeze. I think,
Bless you.
so everyone knows you, but I will still give you where is it? That's not here. You didn't add your bio? Okay.
I saw it in the link. I mean, in the what do you call it? The email that was sent. I think it was in there.
Uh-huh.
But that's all right. Even if you don't find it, it's all right.
UrbanDevi.com. Urban Devi. UrbanDevi.com. Go. 2 seconds and I will have it. UrbanDevi.com. November feelings. Okay. About Rukmini. There we go. Okay. Okay, are you ready, Rukmini dear?
Yes.
10 people or 8 people in the waiting room. I will admit them all. 9 people in the waiting room. People coming in now. Let's see, I turn off the waiting room so we no longer need it. Hello, good morning, everyone. You're each coming in one at a time. Hare Krishna, good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, Leela Devi Dasi, look at
Leela.
you. Good to see you. Anirudha, there you are. Look at that. And Susan. Yes, Pat. I see Pat's here.
Sadhana.
Yes, good morning. Good
Sadhana's near you, Brajarani.
good morning.
Anuradha
Yeah.
and Pat.
Beautiful.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Good morning.
And Hannah. Thank you for joining, Hannah. Pooja, Meenakshi,
Meenakshi,
Shana.
Pooja, Sadhana. Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our monthly Urban Devi Sanga. Always hosted by our dear Rukmini Walker, but we don't often get to hear from her. And this month, the month of November, as we move into what is in the US, this season of Thanksgiving, welcome to all of you. And that's what our dear Rukmini will be speaking on. So although it's not something I think everyone knows and does not need to be introduced, but I would love to introduce Rukmini Walker, who is one of the first bhaktas that I met when I started on this path, and who took me under her wing with her grace and her heart and her compassion and her just openness. way back at the beginning. So as many of you know, Rukmini is an activist in women's spiritual empowerment. That's what she calls it. I love that term. An activist in women's spiritual empowerment and interfaith dialogue. And she and I were just actually chattering about interfaith issues a second ago. She's also the founder of this collective. And she's a member of the board of directors of the Bhakti Center, which she has been a part of for many years and where she serves and gives so much of her heart. She does a lot. She's part of the Bhaktivedanta Board of Trustees of the Bhaktivedanta College. She's a member of SABA, which is a 30-person international committee of the governing body commission of the International Society for Christian Consciousness. What that means is she helps them make some decisions, basically. She travels a lot. She was first brought to the path of bhakti when she was 16. She was initiated when she was 16, when she met Srila Prabhupada, initiated in Montreal, I believe. She's featured in, there's this film, if you haven't seen it, you should catch it, which is The Women of Bhakti. And although she hasn't in the past couple of years, she and her beautiful, beautiful son, Gauravani, also do a regular pilgrimage to India, including Vrindavan usually, and Govardhan Eco Village. So she lives in Washington, D.C. with her husband, Anutama Prabhu. And there she helps sponsor the Vaishnav Christian dialogue and the Vaishnav Muslim dialogue. So not only is she interested in interfaith connections, but she puts her money where her mouth is, which is really important. So she's a seeker of truth, an eco-bhakti seeker of truth, a friend of and well-wisher of every single person that she meets. And I'm not quite sure how that is possible, but I know that is true for her. And so without further ado, my heart, thank you so much, Rukmini Walker. She's going to talk with us on gratitude, on grace and gratitude.
Thank you so much, Bhajarani. And tell me how much time, when do I stop chattering? And
if you stop chattering at, goodness gracious, what time is it? Okay, I'm in San Francisco, so I've got to,
okay,
so it's 11:35.
25 to the hour, yeah.
Yeah, if you stop chatting around like, 12:15, 12:20, 12:30, anywhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah, 12,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. And I'll begin by praying for some blessings with these prayers of invocation and allow Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksun Hilatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayum Jagati Sapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Angalanghayate Girim Yakripas Tamahang Bande Shri Gurundinataranam Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindhu Vaivaccha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hello to all of you. Thank you all for being here. It's such an honor to be with you this morning. And yeah, I was thinking that this coming week is in the US. Some of you are not in the US, but in the US, this is my favorite holiday. It's the holiday of Thanksgiving. And it's a celebration of gratefulness, is what it's supposed to be. And it's the origin of this holiday is when these first settlers, I would call them refugees really, these first refugees came to the shores of the US. And at the time there was a very generous spirited Native American indigenous chief who actually reached out and helped them, showed them how to survive the winter, showed them how to live, what to eat, how to plant. And then this was the first harvest when they were able to celebrate that they'd survived in this new land called America. So yeah, it was a sharing of the abundance of the land and a sharing with unknown people, refugees. And you know, some of them came here looking for religious, they were escaping religious persecution. They came here for religious freedom, but there were a lot of people with mixed motives also who came just fortune hunters or whatever, you know. So I'm just feeling this tension. The reason I thought to speak about this is because I'm feeling this tension in my life, in my world right now, between this generous spirited celebration of gratefulness, this mood of sharing this beautiful cornucopia of the autumn season, the abundance of the harvest, and the tension between that thinking and the climate or the mood of kind of ingratitude that's prevalent in our culture today and in our world. And what's really sad to me is when that kind of ingratitude somehow seeps into our bhakti world as well. So I find that really hard and really heartbreaking. We're all independent jiva souls, and we always have that free will to lean into light or to lean out toward darkness, to lean into love or to lean into the shadow. It said that there are two ways to live one's life. One way is that everything is a miracle, and the other is that nothing is a miracle. And I think that's a really profound thought. So in other words, I can choose to live in gratefulness with a kind of like a wide-eyed, childlike sense of wonder. Thank you for this life, even with all its challenges. Thank you for the gift of all these urban Devis. Thank you for these friends. Thank you for this path of bhakti. Thank you for everything, you know. Thank you for, you know, to see something I've seen. I think this is a mood of gratefulness. To see something I've seen 100 times or 1,000 times, and to see it with a sense of surprise, with that kind of childlike, wow, you know. So this is a very sacred mood that I think is important for us to try to emulate, try to be conscious of in our lives. So we can choose that kind of consciousness, or we can choose to judge, to demean, to fault find, to posture, to gossip, as though I know the only way, and my way is the only way. And that's such a diminishing of consciousness, isn't it? It's such a smallness, a meanness. And yeah, I was thinking that in olden times they used to shame. They used to publicly do this. They used to shame and or hang people or behead people, and they do it in the public square. And I guess the reason was that you know, to keep the common people in line, keep them in fear, make sure they don't step out of line. And but but you know, some people would get this voyeuristic pleasure of watching this kind of public shaming. And I was also thinking that even today, there are some states where capital punishment is still legal. And you can actually go and sit down and watch your very own execution. I guess they need witnesses so that it will be legal. But some people actually get pleasure from that. And so then, yeah, looking into our world today, we have the internet, right? And we can choose how to use it. It's just like anything else. It's a double-edged sword. It's a tool that we can use to gain knowledge, to uplift ourselves in so many ways. Or we can choose to put in our 2 cents and to shame and to blame anyone we like, anyone and everyone. Character assassination with just the click of a button, right? I was thinking that it's not just, you know, like a couple of elderly ladies gossiping over the backyard fence, like maybe it was in previous days, but now with a click of a button, it can go all over the world in 1 second. So how dangerous that is. So we have this double-edged sword that we can use to benefit ourselves, to benefit the world, to bless the world, or we can use it in detrimental ways as well. So it's described in the Bhakti books of Bhakti that there are 3 levels of faith. And we see this in all the traditions of the world, actually. Beginners on any path of faith will see themselves that, yes, I am the person of faith. We are the people of faith. Only my point of view. We're the only, and only the people who believe the same way I do get it, or are chosen, or whatever. And in this consciousness, people judge and find fault and measure other people against themselves, and they're unable to see and unable to recognize devotion that looks a little different from the way they see it, or unable to recognize the good qualities in others who may be different from themselves, may look different, may see differently, may worship differently than the way they do. So this is like neophyte. This is like step 1 in religious faith. And it's so sad when that kind of neophyte thinking finds its way and raises its ugly head in even among those people who are aspiring for the beautiful path of bhakti and practicing the beautiful path of bhakti. Gandhi said, he quoted the Bible, but he had his own twist on it. He said, "An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind." So yeah, do we want a blind world? Or do we want a world with vision to actually see broadly and see across divisions? So yeah, step 1 on the path of bhakti is step 1, numero uno, means to give up pride, to actively try to cultivate humility, and to choose. It's our choice at every step, right? But to choose to be an agent of grace, and an agent who tries to assist other people in bringing out their better angels in themselves, and however that might look like for them, you know. And we have so many examples of the greatest devotees on this path of bhakti who just see themselves as tiny servants of others. So then there's the intermediate level, someone who's come above that beginner level of pride and judging and fault finding, backbiting, judging, pushing down, all that kind of thing. So what are the qualities of someone on that intermediate level? It's recommended that if we're aspiring for that intermediate level, to adore the Lord as you understand the Lord, and be friendly toward all people of faith without sectarianism, and to try to help and uplift anyone who's open to hear, and just avoid those people who are antagonistic and really don't want to hear this stuff, right? So can we choose to live like that? You know, it's our choice. Again, it's which way we lean. Do we lean into that kind of thinking, that kind of heartfelt openness? giving vision and giving agency to others to embrace that kind of consciousness. So that's the intermediate level, right? And so then the most welcome, good to see you.
Thank you.
You made it.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So then there's the most advanced people on the spiritual path who have the vision. Imagine this vision that they see all others serving with more devotion than I myself have. Imagine the being situated in that kind of vision. Everyone is serving. Somehow I'm not able to serve the way they can. So yeah, once a devotee was criticizing some other devotee to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada, this is in one of his letters, he said, they are better than kings, every last one of them. What a vision, you know? I mean, when I think of the kind of crazy way we were behaving and dressing and acting, and Srila Prabhupada seeing us as, you know, kind of unripe. We haven't gotten there yet, but he saw the potential in each and every one of us. Once in Vrindavan, we made these they were about 4 foot high gopi dolls. They called them dolls. They were all decorated with jewelry and beautiful dresses, and they were supposed to go on the altar for the installation of the Krishna Balaram deities. They were supposed to be next to Radhe Shyam and the other 2 gopis. And so we made these. Srila Prabhupada walked in from his walk, and he was so surprised to see these beautiful gopis. And he just gestured with his hand, just like this sweeping gesture across all of his, ragtag kind of mess of unqualified disciples. And he said, it was so beautiful. He said, "You are like them," the gopis, right? "You are all like them." It was the most shocking thing, that how can he see us, in our unripe, crazy state, to be like them. So yeah, this is the extraordinary vision of a highly elevated devotee, and sometimes extending that vision to us. You are accepted, you are loved, you are worthy, even as you are right now, even with all your faults. Like this, he would give this beautiful example of an unripe mango. Is an unripe mango still a mango? It is, right? Because we have the faith. We put it in our basket, we take it home, we have the faith that, yes, one day this thing is going to be ripe and sweet and juicy. So to see ourselves like that, yes, I am worthy. We are all worthy. We are accepted. We are loved. We are beloved. And one day we will be sweet and juicy with all the tastes of Krishna Bhakti Rasa. Yeah, I wanted to share this amazing story with you that I just hunted down because I'd heard it before. This is an amazing story to me that Srila Prabhupada, this is in the earliest 26 Second Avenue days in New York City. And there was this young man who came in while Prabhupada had started speaking. He was sitting on a vyasasana, or this kind of higher chair that was at the back of the room. So this young man walks in, and he walks right up to the front and stands in front of Prabhupada and says to everybody there, "I have something to say, and I want to say it now." And so shocking, no one knew what to do. If people were more equipped, they might have done something, but everyone was just astonished, and they were just thinking that Prabhupada would just handle this thing, and what's Prabhupada going to do about this, right? So nobody wanted to cause a disturbance, but none of them did anything. So this boy is a bit mad, right? And he's just speaking incoherently. And then Prabhupada just said, "All right, let's have kirtan." So Prabhupada picked up his kartals and started a kirtan with this menacing young man right in front of him. Who knows what he's going to do? Prabhupada did kirtan for about half an hour or so. And then this young man sat in one place through the whole kirtan, looking crazy and menacingly at Prabhupada, right at Prabhupada. No one knew what to do. So then at the end of this kirtan, this is what Prabhupada would do. He would always, because he always considered that no gathering is complete without distribution of prasadam. So he had a little paring knife. So he cut an apple into pieces. And then I find this so amazing. Prabhupada holds out the apple and the knife, right, to this young man, right? Just trusting Krishna, that and probably praying for this young man. Which do you choose? Are you going to choose the knife and perhaps stab me or someone else? Or will you choose the gift of this apple? It's your choice. So I find this story so astounding. And yeah, and then the whole room was silent. Prabhupada was motionless, and he was slightly smiling at this young man. And as the story goes, after a long, tense moment, the boy reached out and chose the apple. And there was this, palpable sigh in the whole audience. Yeah, he chose the apple from Prabhupada's open hand. So yeah, we can fearlessly try to share, trusting in Krishna, placing our faith in Krishna, that others can be rectified. I can be rectified just by gaining some faith in Krishna. We can choose to hear, to watch, and we can choose, right? How we're going to spend our time, how we're going to choose what we're going to watch, and choose where to place our faith, where to place our love, and choose what examples we want to emulate in our lives. Yeah, if I'm criticizing other people, then my vision will be cloudy and covered, and I won't be given the gift of clarity. The mode of goodness, one of the symptoms of the mode of goodness, you've maybe all heard that there are 3 modes of material nature. The mode of goodness, which is illuminating and transparent. The mode of passion is controlling and judging. And then the mode of darkness or ignorance is just complete laziness and sleep and intoxication, right? So one of the qualities of this mode of goodness is this transparency, to be able to see myself, to be able to see others, to be able to see the world and see what is Krishna trying to tell me in my life. We get that when we can dwell in this mode of goodness, we can get that vision of vision, and also hearing that still small voice of Krishna. What is the next step that I'm meant to take in this life? So yeah, to see God, actually, to see in the clear mirror of my heart. So I find it so interesting that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used this metaphor of cleaning the mirror of the heart by the process, by the cultivation of chanting the holy name. But it was also used by the Islamic poet Rumi. And they both said the same thing, that the more we polish that mirror of our hearts by that cultivation, that the more we'll be able to see ourselves and see others in truth, and see the world, and actually see God, see Krishna as well. But then Rumi says, I love this, Rumi says, but if we're disturbed by every little rub, then how can our mirrors be polished, right? If everything's just too hard and too annoying and too this and too that, then how is my mirror of my heart going to ever be polished? So speaking on this topic of this celebration, this gratefulness, this thanksgiving, I love this quote from Abraham Maslow. He says, "This is the gift, to have the wonderful capacity to appreciate again and again, freshly and naively, like a child, right? Freshly and naively, the basic goods of life." That means the ordinary things, the things that I've seen a million times, right? The basic goods of life. He says, with awe, with pleasure, with wonder, and even ecstasy. So I really believe that this is the path of bhakti, to awaken ourselves. And it also seems to me that the older I get, I mean, looking into myself, the older I get, I can get into this kind of jaded consciousness of, yeah, I've seen that, I've been there, I did that, I know what that's all about. And I don't take that moment to pause. You know what I mean? I don't take that moment to pause like a child would, looking at a bug or a butterfly or looking at a rock or looking at anything. But I've seen it. And I have this jaded kind of mentality, and I can so easily, we can so easily lose that sense of wonder. There's a Vedic aphorism, I don't know if you've heard it before, but it's called Vasudeva Kutumbakam. And people talk about this a lot in India, but you rarely see it practiced. Sometimes you do see it practiced. But it means to see the entire world as one family, as different as we all may be, different species, different genders, different races, different nationalities. And yeah, to see the world as one, of course, people will say one human family, but on the path of bhakti, it's extended to include all living beings. This is Bhagavad Gita philosophy, that a wise person sees the same vibrant spirit essence in every living being, even the animals, even the insects, even the microbes, right? So, there's something that one tribe of indigenous people in the US would do when they would have their gatherings, they would have their meetings. They would always make sure that there was one child present with them when they would be discussing. There had to be one young child there in the room. And why was that? Because they wanted to remember that the decisions they made in their gathering would impact the future and would impact, as they said, 7 generations into the future. So yes, our actions reverberate, right? What I do, what I say, what I think, the way I act reverberates and impacts me, and it impacts the people in my immediate surroundings. It actually reverberates and impacts the world, and it reverberates on into the future. So so I believe the path of bhakti is to live with an interdependent cooperation and seeing ourselves as dependent on Krishna. But this is a vision of bhakti. This is the essence of a spiritual vision that was given by Lord Chaitanya and all the great teachers in his line of disciplic succession. And this is the way Srila Prabhupada lived and taught. And this is what he expected us to carry off into the future and to demonstrate by our lives what it means to be a beloved community. In the nectar of instruction, maybe you've heard this before, there's 6 exchanges of love that are described between one devotee and another. So to give a gift in charity, to receive a gift, to reveal your mind in confidence, to hear someone reveal their mind in confidence that it's not going to be blabbed all over the internet tomorrow on Facebook. And then to share prasadam, to give some food that's offered to Krishna and to receive. So these are the 6 loving exchanges between one devotee and another. But in that purport, Srila Prabhupada says something else that's really amazing to me. He says that when ordinary people who are not yet on any spiritual path can witness this kind of loving exchanges between people on the spiritual path, that it awakens their dormant love and their dormant ability to also live and exchange these exchanges of love. So how beautiful is that? That just by loving each other, serving each other, sharing with each other on the path of bhakti, we actually give the gift to the world, to ordinary people, to awaken this kind of love in themselves. And when we can strip off our masks, right, our coverings, our masks, our layers, we can see that Each one of us is please mute yourself. Yeah. We can see that each one of us is a spiritual being and deeply loved, and that we're all worthy, and that we hold an infinite ability to reverberate that love back into the world. So I find these thoughts to be so much in line with this beautiful essence of what it means to be celebrating Thanksgiving, and the essence of what it means to be on the path of bhakti. When I think about Thanksgiving, I think about gratefulness, and there's a fullness and abundance, that again, that cornucopia of overflowing horn of plenty of apples and pears and gourds and all kinds of abundance that comes to us by the grace of God in our world, right? So there's a metaphor, if you can follow me on this metaphor, there's a beautiful metaphor of and to me this harkens back to Thanksgiving, a metaphor of an overflowing fountain where the water is just overflowing, right? Because the basin of that fountain is small. And because the basin is small, the water just overflows. So to me, it's kind of in line with what Ishopanishad says about how not taking more than my need, right? Not, and again, as Gandhi said, there's enough in this world for everyone's need, but not enough for some people's greed, right? So if the basin of my fountain is small and I keep my needs small, then I can have this experience of this overflowing fountain of gratitude in this true spirit of thanksgiving and gratefulness. But if I want more and more and more, so before I was talking about gossiping, so greed, gossip, all these things kind of go together. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have grace and we have gratefulness. So if I want for my greed, if I want more prestige and more power and more this and more that, more whatever, then this basin of this fountain becomes ego-based and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the fountain of gratefulness, the fountain of thanksgiving, doesn't have a chance to overflow, if you know what I mean, because my basin of my needs and wants and greed have become so big that overflowing fountain of gratefulness can't overflow. So, in conclusion, this is what I've been thinking about this month of November. Maybe I think about it every November, how to be more full of gratefulness. And I'm choosing the word gratefulness because it has full in it instead of gratitude. Prajarani, when we were organizing this, she said, "Don't you mean gratitude?" I said, no, I mean gratefulness, because the word full is in there. So in this, we've just ended the beautiful month of Kartik, right? Srimati Radhika, she is the Kartik Devi. She is the compassionate side of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada instructed us, don't try to approach Krishna directly, but place your prayer in the hand of Sri Radhika, and she will beg Krishna to accept you. So I feel like we are aspiring Vaishnavis, right? We're messengers of Sri Radhika. We're expanded from her. All living beings, not only the women, all living beings are expanded from her. And we're meant to give her pleasure. We're meant to give Krishna pleasure. She's the pleasure potency. And we're meant to give her pleasure, to give pleasure to her, to Krishna, in this mood of, how can I serve you and all of your beloved living beings? What can I give? How can I serve? What can I share? This is, to me, this is what it means to learn in the school of Srimati Radharani's love. How can I exemplify her mood of radical compassion and her grace in loving gratefulness to Krishna and everyone else in my life for all all the gifts that I receive each day, you know, how to be a proactive participant in creating a culture of cooperation that can change me and change others around me and change the future. I think this is really important. You know, we live in Washington, D.C., and we're big fans of Abraham Lincoln down here. And I wanted to share, he said something beautiful in his second inaugural address. It's up on carved in the stone of the Lincoln Memorial. But he said, and I love this phrase, he said, with charity toward all, with malice toward none, let us move forward, doing what we see to be the right thing as God gives us the vision to see what's right. So just very, very beautiful mentality of giving, you know, of giving and sharing and charity, you know. So yeah, to me, this is what Bhakti Yoga is all about. I see it as the yoga of conscious gratefulness. Conscious Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of conscious gratefulness and expressed gratefulness. We're meant to be conscious and we're meant to express it and say thank you. Thank you, Krishna, and thank you to everyone. So these are some thoughts that came up for me in the month of November, just before the beautiful celebration of gratefulness and Thanksgiving. So yeah, we have a breakout. How do we do this, Brajarani?
Before we get to breakouts, a couple of things, and I have a question for you, Rukmini. One is, thank you so much in this. As you know, I'm out here with my spiritual family here in San Francisco, and yesterday we spoke a lot about this mirror, and so it's interesting to see these connections, this mirror, and being allowed to sort of truly see ourselves. So thank you so much for bringing that up. This is so essential. And it was a day of practicing the 6 loving exchanges. Without using that language. So I want to, to seeing these connections, I really appreciate it.
That's so beautiful.
I have a question. Beautiful. Yeah, go ahead.
That's what you're doing. You're tearing down the walls, you know? Just tear down the walls, express those 6 loving exchanges out in the world. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And people are doing it, but not as consciously. So it's
and they may not use the same words that we use.
Yes.
Right, to express it. Yeah.
I have a question for you, which actually leads a bit to the question for the breakout sessions. And it is more directly related to this culture of hostility. And when talking about how we can be and express gratefulness. And I'd love to hear a little bit more that connection between that within this culture of hostility, what that means.
Because I think what comes up for me is that if I'm rooted in pride, then I think what I see and what I know is what's true. But I may be only seeing a little tail of the elephant, right? You know, I may not see that the elephant has a big flappy ear on the other end, or big fat legs, or, you know, I just may be seeing the skinny little tail. So if I get on the internet and judge and criticize, or even maybe my motive is to defend someone who I think has been unfairly judged, then that can also be counterproductive. I think the better thing, rather than getting on the internet and blasting my point of view, is to just like what I do. I have a prayer list. I keep it on my fridge. And when I run across people in my life who I see to be suffering in different ways, maybe it's physical, maybe it's mental, maybe it's emotional, but I keep those people on my prayer list. And I have that practice every day. We do our spiritual practice in the morning. We chant the prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. And after that, I just go up to my fridge and I pray for all those people who I see who are suffering in different ways. And I think that's much superior to going on the internet either in a mood of hostility or in a mood of defending, because then someone say I'm defending, then someone will come up and say, well, actually, you don't get it because blah, 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 actually this happened or that happened, and but if I exist in humility and try to live without pride, I can really try to see that my vision is a very small slice of reality. And maybe there's a lot that I don't know and a lot that I don't see, but still I can extend compassion to everyone. I remember the great Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh talking about feeling compassion to the women who'd been raped on those boats leaving Vietnam, and how sad, these women were being raped, but then extending that same mood of compassion for the pirates who were the rapists, that how could a human being stoop to such a level of degradation in the deepest, darkest mode of ignorance? There's another story of Prabhupada at 26th 2nd Avenue where a woman was screaming, another kind of screaming situation. A woman was screaming from the back of the room, and Srila Prabhupada was at the front of the room sitting on his chair, and someone heard him say, with such compassion, he said, "It is the darkest of darkness. It is the darkest of darkness." So to feel compassion, to pray, to express compassion, and to trust Krishna, that Krishna can, please enlighten the heart of this person who's perhaps making these offenses or causing harm to someone or some such thing. Enlighten the heart or relieve the suffering. To me, this is bhakti compassion. This is the mood where we need to be situated. I think it's a very, very important difference. Otherwise, it's all neophyte beginner stuff, judging and blasting and pulling out quotes from Srila Prabhupada to annihilate each other with this quote or that quote. It's ridiculous. It makes the whole world blind. It will make an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. We don't need that in our world. There's too much of it already. So the people on the path of bhakti are supposed to be the ones giving vision, giving grace. How can I serve? How can I love? And how can I share that vision with you so that you can also catch that contagious disease, right? Talk about pandemics, right? We want a pandemic of grace. We want a pandemic of gratefulness, that's just so contagious that you just can't help catching it. And that's what it means to associate with a great devotee. You just can't help catching it. So that we each need to be so infectious and infected that can just reverberate into the world and into the future. We're creating, think of that child, right? We're creating that future. Every step we take, every word we speak, everything we do, we're creating that future. We're like creating the, like a groove or of what will come next. So is that helpful?
That's beautiful. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, dear devotees, what we will do, dear participants, dear bhaktas, dear urban Devis, what we'll do is break out into a few small groups of 3 to 4. We'll break you out. And the question, it'll probably be for about 10 minutes. And the question is, can you think of an example of when you observed someone who was able to deploy grace, or you yourself were able to deploy grace to diffuse an atmosphere of negativity, and to share that with each other. And the flip side of that might be an opportunity, if you can think about a time when you weren't able to, but now, given this discussion, where you think you might do something differently, if you could go back. So a time when you or someone you know was able to use grace to dissolve negativity, or an opportunity that you think where you couldn't, but maybe you might do something different. So we're going to break it out into groups. I think it's going to be 3 or 4 participants.
It could even be something you've read in Shastra or some story that you heard, or, could be from anywhere, right?
It could be from anywhere. Okay. Let's see. We have lost a few people, so I'm just trying to get the group set up. Okay, there we go. So we'll give you about 10 minutes, and you will see your group get created. And you'll join it, and then when it's done, it will undo itself. Hare Krishna. Karen, Saradia, Hare Krishna. If I can see your faces, you can take yourself off mute. Hello? Anyone here in this group with me?
Hare Krishna Brajarani.
Hi, Krishna.
I am going to pass in the breakout rooms.
Okay.
I have small children and I'm listening, but I'm not going to be able to participate. So I'll just hang out here and wait for everyone to come back.
No problem whatsoever. No problem
Thank you.
whatsoever.
I appreciate that. Thank
Okay.
you.
I saw you hanging out. I was like, how did she not get assigned?
Yep, that's why. So I'm just going to
Okay.
hang out and wait for the goodies to come back.
Okay,
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Okay. Everyone's beginning to come back one by one. One by one. Might be just about all of us.
Are there announcements that you're going to be making at the end, Brajrani?
I guess we'll announce the next meeting and that's about it.
Okay, the date and everything, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
The date's about all we got.
And the name, we have the name, right?
We
name.
do have a name.
Do we have a topic yet?
We do not. That's why I said the
Okay.
date's about all we've got.
Okay, okay. And the
I
name.
think everyone is back at this time. So welcome back, everyone. So we can take the next few minutes. I would just love to hear some of the conversations and thoughts and Yeah, just what was some of the discussions, a little taste of some of the discussions in the group. We'll follow that with Q&A and then finalize that with discussions and be done at the top of the hour. So anyone who would like to speak, you can raise your hand. I think I can see raised hands. Would love to just kind of hear some of what you've been sharing and learning, some realizations that you've had in today's discussion. Hopefully everyone knows how to raise their hand, or there's a little thing under reactions. There's a little hand under reactions. That's a raised hand. So don't be shy, dear Vaishnavis.
Will you see if I put something in the chat?
I can see it, and if you, and possibly everyone can see it, depending on how you do it. Sardia Rasa, would you like to kick us off with the sharing? Sometimes we have to what is it called? Select people. I think Rukmini dear would love to hear your thoughts shared with the larger group, if that's possible.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, there you
Hope
are.
you can hear me clearly. So yes, I shared with Rukmini Prabhu that when I was studying, I once came across an article about an NGO in Cape Town, in an area called the Cape Flats. So it's quite a big, what we call informal settlement, and it's a very low economic area. There was a young lady from the USA that came to volunteer there and do some work, and she was unfortunately raped and killed very brutally by a local gang. And when her parents found out about it, they were obviously traumatized, but they decided that they felt that they needed to actually come back to the community and help the people. So her parents migrated to South Africa, and they opened up an NGO, and they specifically started working with young people, who were involved in gang life and trying to find them alternatives to get out. So I just thought that was immensely instructive example of being agents of grace, because they had experienced so much pain and so much trauma, but then they had the insight to know that people who could have done such a gruesome thing were themselves in immense pain. So they decided not to only go and heal themselves, but to go back to the community and to actually help and heal the community. And I thought, like, if they can forgive such an act of violence towards their daughter, then that really shows us that we can definitely forgive like small little trespasses that we feel others commit towards us.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. There was something in the United States, I think it was last year or something, about someone who, I think of one of these police violence things where the parents were forgiving, someone who had murdered their child. And there was a big outcry. People were offended that the parents could actually find forgiveness in their heart, which is really interesting. We back to sort of this judging way we have, and so it's one thing to not be able to forgive ourselves, but to judge others for being able to is I think a fascinating place that we've come to as people. So these examples of people who have been through something so horrific and find it in their hearts to be able to understanding that this, in some ways, it's that forgiveness frees them from carrying that, themselves. So thank you so much for sharing, and Rukmini, thank you for nudging her to share that with the larger group. Anyone else? Thoughts of when they have or maybe haven't? I think I can think of probably more examples when I haven't been as graceful. Someone else is putting someone else on the spot. This is great. So I don't know, Isabel, would you like to share? I think you're one of your group members thinks that you have something that would be of benefit for all of us to hear. If you'd like to, you can unmute yourself. There you go.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes, I will, and I will try to make it short because I was not graced with keeping things short. I kind of speak a lot. So yes, I was just sharing with my group that I felt grace in one opportunity when I started out on the Bhakti path with my dear teachers, Wisdom of the Sages, Raghu and Kastuba. We're talking a lot about the Bhagavad Gita, about equanimity and the equal vision, to be able to see Krishna, to see love in everyone. And that I had a really big problem with that because I was like, I can't do that. I cannot do that. And I was put into a situation where I was just shopping around for flowers in a garden center. And my husband was just parking the car, and this big, this man came up to me and told me to go myself in both languages, in French and in English, because I'm French and in English, but somehow he was very angry, and I don't know, I think he was sent as a test, because my reaction, I was able to see the little boy behind that anger. In that man's eye, I saw a little boy crying out for his mother. Just so I saw my sons. I saw Krishna. I saw that true love, and I transformed as a mother. So that was grace for me to be able to see. It was Krishna saying, "Look, you can do it. You can see it." Cannot say that I see it all the time, but that was at least grace for sure. And I was able to walk away, and he just walked away also. And yeah, so that's the story. Thank you.
That's a beautiful gift. A really beautiful gift, and it's not maybe not always there. It's like the mirror's polished in a little corner for a moment where you can really see things as they truly are. But that's what a wonderful gift to be given, to be able to sort of to really, again, to diffuse, right? Because you're not responding to what presents on the surface, but to really be able to see. And Rukmini, you have something to say. You have to unmute again, Rukmini.
I was just thanking Isabel. I just thought that was so beautiful. And isn't that true? It's almost like the curtain parted for a few moments, and she was able to bring out her best angels in herself, so what a gift that is. I mean, I would want to pray for that all the time, to have that gift, to be able to be, to me, it's I don't know, Christ-like, right? So beautiful.
So I think let's open it up. People can continue to share or maybe ask some questions of Rukmini. You can raise your hand, or you can just unmute and speak, but let's see what's on your mind for the next about 15 or so minutes.
Hi, everybody. Hare Krishna. I would like to share. Good to see dear Rukmini and Vajarani. So good to see you guys.
Hare Krishna Vraja Gopi Dasi. Hare Krishna, what a beautiful name.
Thank you. I just came back from a very, very beautiful trip to see my mother in Israel. And I originally was supposed to go and spend some time there for 3 weeks and be with her, just, visit and go see some friends and god brothers and sisters. And for some reason in the middle of my trip, I had a feeling that I needed to extend another week. I just felt that maybe it wouldn't be enough time to see people. I just started feeling pressure. And so I extended another week to trip. And my mother thought that I'm practicing Christianity because I say Hare Krishna. So she correlates Krishna with Christian. And she's the Jewish woman who, has her faith. And so I explained to her that I'm not Christian and that it's Krishna and what it meant. The word Krishna, that it's all attractive and God is all attractive. And, it's just the way we call our God. And it's like Allah and it's like Elohim and it's the same, it's one God. So basically, she started seeing that she's been seeing a change in me in quite some time, and she hasn't been really happy about the change because she felt that she missed that young, curly hair, wild hair, jeans girl to somebody who is more conservative and doesn't go out and doesn't drink and doesn't do all that thing. So she said, she would say to me, I miss the other person in a negative way. And so I used to get really angry when she used to say that. But then this time I just felt that I had an opportunity to spend time with her and not need to defend who I am in my practice, but to really show the way I live and have compassion and patience towards her and accept her for if this is how she felt. And, I wasn't gonna change her mind, but I was just gonna show her the way I live. And I said to her, I noticed that you pray every day. That's really beautiful. And I said to her, she says, oh yes, I pray every day. I ask God to, protect my children. I ask God to give us this. I ask God to make sure that we have this. And I ask God and I ask God. And I said, wow, you ask a lot from God. And I said, in our tradition, we don't ask God for anything. We just want to serve God. So we serve him our food when we cook, and we ask if he wants to help us, and if he thinks it's the right thing, then that's good, but we don't demand anything. And she looked at me like this double take, and she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, this is how it goes. And I showed her when I cook and we don't taste the food and how it works and all that. So she thought that was the most beautiful thing she's ever heard in her life. I said, Mom, you have a friend who comes over and brings you a bouquet of flowers. The next thing you go to her house, are you going to ask her to give you another bouquet, or are you going to bring her a bouquet? And she said, of course. And I said, well, why wouldn't you do that with God? Every day you're praying to him to help you. So what are you doing to give God? And so now she calls me and tells me that is the most beautiful thing she's experiencing every day, to offer her food and water and flowers and sweets. So that extra week I had there was that week that I was able to have that transition with her and to serve her. I served her like I'd never served her before. I just went for it 100%. I just served her. I canceled everything that I was planning to go on trips and all that, and I just served her, and she is now in a very different place regarding my faith and who I am, and I think her faith as well. So, and she's 92. So, yeah, it was a gift to be able to do that and to change even the way I was. I changed, you know, not the same the way I behaved with her, but you know, compassion and patience.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
That was transformative. Yeah, for her and for you. How beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was really beautiful. To me, this is like changing the world, you know, like heart by heart, heart to heart, heart to heart, just changing the world.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I don't see where Brajarani went. Would someone
I'm right
else
here.
like to share? Oh, there you are.
I have not gone anywhere. I'm right here. I'm sorry, people. I have things going on around me, people asking me questions, etc. So you know, that it's what a beautiful gift, Brajagopi, to be able to just spend time there and for her just to sort of just to live, right? And to see in some ways not so different. And in other ways, some of the differences are beautiful, right?
Right, right.
Right. My mom is 94 as well, so same generation, and you know, I think they can see those connections
Right.
when you're just there. They can just see how you're living and what this means, how you're relating to her differently because of this, in a way that
And it's
honors
very,
her.
very hard for an elderly person to make a shift like that in their consciousness. So just imagine, you know, how beautiful. What a gift. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question, a thought, something to share, a reflection?
I'm looking at my sister and remembering our time last days with our mother and how difficult it was and how unable to change she was. She was, I guess, 93. So it's a miraculous story when someone's able to evoke a change of heart through, as you said, patience and compassion, generosity. So it's a great test. We have those tests every day, don't we? In our different worlds.
Rina Shakti has raised her hand as well. You can unmute and maybe if you can, it's great to see your face.
Hare Krishna. So I was I was just thinking about how do I feel that kind of share that grace in moments when I'm really triggered by something, like, because it's easy when it's something that's kind of not that bad, or I can kind of distance myself from it, like even on social media, like, okay, I can just close my Facebook, put the laptop away, put it in the cupboard, and and it's gone. But when it's like, especially someone who's right in front of me, or like family, and they know exactly which button to press, and they know that, like the reaction that they're going for. And and it's just like, I'm like in this moment, like, and I have this, like, I can have the separation where I'm like, I can see what you're doing, but there's like this, like the anger just completely, like the venom just comes out. And it's like, I'm trying really hard, and then afterwards I'm like, okay, shouldn't have done that. And it's like, but it felt really good in the moment to kind of tell them off. But then afterwards, it's like the regret of like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. It's like those moments. Like, how do you deal with them?
Are you asking a question?
Yeah, please help.
Well, I think, you know, and that's like our, you know, like you use the word trigger. It's like a trigger reaction. It's just going to react, right? But I think those are the moments when we're being called to take a deep breath and to take a pause and to, you know, sometimes even just a moment of silence, a pregnant silence in those moments when, you know, like yesterday or last year, I would have reacted with that trigger defense or that trigger offense. But right now, to be able to call upon that moment of pause, and sometimes someone will see for themselves, and sometimes just, you know, like sometimes someone will just see or not see, but just that moment of silence that I didn't react, I didn't pull the trigger, I didn't, you know, character assassination. I didn't go to that place. And, you know, sometimes we don't have that perfect comeback right at that moment, right? But we don't need to. We can just pray for that ability to be able to be present and be kind and just think, you know, I'm not going to stoop to that place of combative tit for tat, you know. And that's the material world, isn't it? When we're just in that place, that tit for tat. And I say this, and he says that, and that's what there's so much on the internet. I think that's what I was sort of aiming for in this conversation. It's so much about he said, she said, and dragging down into the muck. Actually, there are a couple stories I thought of sharing, but let me share now. We have a few minutes, right? So there's a couple stories. There's one story of there's one story of someone, a man who was in a concentration camp in one of those countries during the Nazi regime. He was in a concentration camp, and one of the Nazi guards was teasing him while he was actually the prisoner, the man who was the Jewish prisoner, was shoveling excrement. That was the task he'd been given, right? And then the Nazi guard was just taunting him, and he was calling out to him, "Where is your God now? Where is your God now? Now, you know, here you are." And this man said, in such a profound way, he said, he just, and this is an instant where he did have something to say. I mean, I think coming from a place of great depth and great faith, but he said, "My God, he's right here in the muck with me. He's right here with me right now." So I always found that story to be very powerful and moving. And there's another one that I thought of sharing. There was a great Sufi teacher, and he had a daughter who, he was a Sufi teacher, and they were living in France and fluent in French. And so she began working for the French underground. She was in the UK, and then she parachuted into France, and she was sharing secrets, what she observed from the Nazi occupation of Paris. She was sharing secrets with the Allies. And then she was captured, and she was sent to, I forget the name of the concentration camp where she was sent. But today there's a statue of her there, actually. Her name was Noor Inayat Khan. And there's a statue of her outside this concentration camp. And so she was saying to these Nazi captors, she was saying, "You can't, there's nothing," she was actually having a vision of that she was the soul. She was saying, "There's nothing you can do to me because I know that I am the soul. I know that I'm a spiritual being. So there's nothing you can do to harm me in any way." So the other women who were there as captors, as captured people, were witnessing her extraordinary consciousness and extraordinary faith. So that's another example. But yeah, my dear friend, Karuna, I just think sometimes we don't have those comebacks. There's nothing we can say but just that pregnant silence of tolerance. And I'm not going to go there with you right now. I think it's powerful. What do you think? What do any of you think? What do you think, Karuna or anyone?
Yeah, I think that is really powerful, and just trying to take that silence. I think it maybe it's just like getting into that practice of separating yourself in that moment, because like there's sometimes when it's like I can do this, and and I feel like I'm not doing it by my own strength. And then I think maybe that's the thing, is like when I'm trying to do it by myself and when I'm trying to do it with Krishna's help, like the times when I've been successful, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like I can feel there's a strength there that's not my own. Whereas the times when I failed, there was a distinct absence of that strength.
Beautiful. Yeah. When we're acting out of ego and we're forgetting that connectivity, that interconnection with that dependence on Radha and Krishna. So that's a beautiful point. So, and then I would also say that in those moments in between when you're not being triggered, to pray for them, pray for to remember to reach out to Krishna and to know how to respond. Because then, Krishna is just sitting in our hearts waiting to hear from us what is our desire, right? I always like to say he's unemployed, sitting in our hearts until we want to turn to him and call out to him. So if he knows that that's what you're desiring, that's what I'm desiring, then he'll give us that intelligence, how to pull that from his grace, from his connect to his strength rather than just working on our own strength. That's a really beautiful realization. Thank you so much. Does this bring up anything for anyone else?
We have only a few minutes left. I see Christina has unmuted herself. We probably have time for a just short comment and short response. So, Christine?
Yes. Yeah, hi, thank you. Hare Krishna. I just want to say thank you so much for this group. I'm new here, I just joined, and I'm also pretty new to Bhakti. So, often I'm still feel like I'm kind of, very like confused or like on the fence or ambivalent, or, I do my rounds, but then it's all sort of heavy or heady and abstract. And so having these conversations about like actual life is really helpful, and like interacting with you all, I just really appreciate it, and it's very grounding and feels very real. So thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Where are you located? Where are you?
I'm in Chicago.
Oh, my hometown. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Wonderful.
That's beautiful, because this has to be practical, right? If it's not practical, it's not anything really.
Thank you.
Krishna, do you have a final comment?
Yes, thank you so much for setting this up, and thank you so much, Rukmini Prabhu, for sharing your thoughts. Just one thing comes to my mind. Many years ago, Rukmini Prabhu had said, and it was a question, if I come across some reading that sounds exactly offensive to, whatever author is saying, put it on the shelf, like something around that. I might not be phrasing it correctly, but put it aside and focus on the main thing.
Try to be an essence seeker.
Yes.
I think there's so many people who are hovering on the periphery of bhakti because of pride or whatever, but to go to the essence and to find those people who go to the essence. Thank you, Krishna. Yeah, go to the essence and hear from those people who resonate with that essence and share that essence. Thank you. Beautiful.
I think that's a beautiful last sort of thought in all of this, right? It's about the essence, and it's that essence that's shared in other places, and when we're at the essence, we're not. That's where there's no arguments around the essence usually. That's where we can find sort of commonality with each other and with others as well. So we are at time. We will post in this, in our WhatsApp group. I put in the WhatsApp group, in this chat, you'll see a link to the WhatsApp group. We will post in this WhatsApp group a recording from this session. We will also post, we always post in this WhatsApp group also the next session, which will be December 19th, 11:30 Eastern time, as per usual, 11:30 to 1. I will post more about the speaker. I just know her name is Gopi. I don't know anything more about her, but we will post all of that information. So stay tuned, share with your friends, other Devis, other seekers, other essence seekers that are in your lives. Please share with them as well. And we are at time. I see a number of comments. Hopefully, Rukmini, you can see them as well. Thank you all so much for joining this week and every month. Again, share with others, and we'll see you again here, Lord willing, on December 19th.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Rajarani. Thank you, Ashley, Christine, Krishna, Nityananda Kari, oh, Susan, Narayani, and Sadhana, and trying to see all of you. Thank you all so much for being here. Narayani, thank you for being here. Thank you. Please join us again if you have the chance. Thank you so much. Anita, thank you for being here. And Brenda, thank you for being here. All of you, thank you so much for being part of this conversation.